Hi, this is Marcia, and today I'm going to be talking about the different types of learning studios. I'm going to walk you through what those studios are and give you examples of each of them. Hi, this is Marcia, and today I'm going to be talking about blended learning studios. What's a studio? Let's start out with that first. A studio. A studio is a way that students are going to learn the content through visual learning, tactile learning, auditory, and kinesthetic. The students will learn the content in 4 different learning modalities in one lesson. Each one of these different studios are all tied back to the standard from that day. So we're going to really make sure that what we do in the different studios are all interconnected. So they're going to be all tied, think of it like as a chain link fence, to this one group called small group, the small group environment. So everything is connected in some way through those different learning modalities. And each one of them is collecting data, telling us from that teacher point of view what the students are doing and how they are doing in that learning environment. So the next day, when the teacher comes back to do another set of small groups, he is going to use that data to drive their instructions. So it's going to become differentiated instruction small groups. So studios, 4 different learning modalities: visual, tactile, auditory, kinesthetic. They're all linked together and they go along with that small group instruction. Each one of the studios collect that data to help drive that small group for the next day. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk to you what we call those studios. The studios have very distinct names. I use abbreviations like everything else in education. So I know as you get going, you're going to be, wait, what is that? But just rewind the video and you can understand what they mean, okay? So here we go. We're going to first start out with my one that is very easy for teachers to do, which is called independent practice. The independent practice studio is a place where students are going to show their learning, show their understanding. They're going to show their understanding of that content. So for example, an independent practice, you might have the students do an activity sheet where they have different questions that they have to answer that goes along with that small group. Remember, everything is going to be tied back to small group instruction. So the teacher might have them do some practice activity questions. They might do some vocab practice. They might do a couple of reading passages. They might be doing some comprehension, task cards. All of these are things that you could put right inside of that independent practice because of the fact that the kids are going to be going here and really showing that they understand the concepts. It's also, they're going to practice. This is a key word. They're going to practice. A lot of teachers are like, can I grade this? It's up to you. Grade it if you want, but sometimes you got to practice before you grade it. So think about participation points before you say, I'm going to grade this for a grade. That automatically puts pressure on the student. So let them practice it before you do it for a grade. Just a thought. Here's another thing that I do with independent practice, that IP, is that if I'm going to do this activity sheet, sometimes some of those activity sheets have 15 questions that the students have to answer. That's a lot. And if they're going to be doing it in that small group by themselves or with a partner, then that's going to be kind of challenging. So what do? Is I take that activity sheet and I put them into grab bags, like those brown paper bags, like your sack lunch bags. And I have bag 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to take this activity sheet and I'm going to cut it apart. Literally, physically cut it apart or rewrite them onto little Post-it cards or note cards. When you look at an activity sheet, it usually goes from easy questions and they get harder. So my first couple questions are going to go into bag 1. So I'm going to put any questions that are kind of like on the easier side, or even think about this as review questions that tie to that small group, into bag 1. Bag 2, I'm going to put questions that are getting a little bit more difficult, that are going to push them, that are going to give them things that they might not have tried yet. So these get a little bit harder. So I'm going to say like on level. Okay. So again, remember, I'm just using this activity sheet. So now we're looking at question number 5 or 6 because those get a little bit more challenging. Then in bag number 3, I'm going to put my extended questions. And what am I going to do for extended questions is I'm going to think about those questions that are going to take the kids to that next level of learning. How do we go to that meets and masters? How do we go to that enrichment aspect? I'm going to put questions into that bag. When the student comes back, you will have a sign that says pick. You're going to say pick 3, pick 2, pick 1. Instead of having the kids do all 15 questions, now they're going to pick out questions from that bag, and they're going to be mystery. It's going to be a challenge. Kids are going to go from doing 0 questions in independent practice to now doing 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm telling you, this independent practice in this format is one of the best ways to keep those students engaged. All right, independent practice, show their understanding. Do a quick screenshot if you want this as a screenshot. All right, because what am I going to do? I'm going to erase it. So I'm going to keep our list going over here to this side. So we have small group instruction, independent practice. The next one that I'm going to be talking about is I'm going to be talking about this digital content. Most of the schools went one-to-one in the pandemic year, and now we have all this wonderful technology that is going to help the students along with their learning. So we're going to use that in our lessons, in our small groups, in these different studios. So remember, they're going to practice here. If you want it for a grade, go for it. But I like that as practice. Let's do digital content next. Digital content. This is where they are going to learn, relearn, or adaptive technology. So what do I mean by digital content? Let's give you some examples. Let's put it into, I like boxes because it kind of helps us to understand. So when we're talking about learning, you could have the kids, what they're going to be learning, watching an Edpuzzle, okay? So maybe you would do a video just like what I'm doing right now where you're showcasing, hey guys, when you get to this problem, here's some things that you might want to do. You could put that into an Edpuzzle. So while the students are watching it, it's going to stop and ask them questions. You'll get that data to drive your small group. Love Edpuzzle. Another one where they might learn might be Khan Academy or any video series that's going to help the students learn that concepts. Relearn. Maybe if you are going to be using Schoology, you might put videos back into a Schoology folder that go over that concept. Because, you know, as you're learning and you're following your pacing guide, you might be learning about place value on Monday, but then you're going to add to place value with adding more numbers or rounding. So maybe kids need to go back to place value on that video to re-see it again. It's still going along with what you're teaching. It's just filling in those holes and gaps. So this is our bucket of learn. We're going to be learning here, and we're going to relearn here. All right? So sometimes kids just need to go back and do it again. One of the best things that we see are those QR codes, where the kids have the QR code and they scan it, and they're going to be able to take that photo, and it's going to take them right to that video. Just an option. I saw a lot of that last year where they had just QR codes. Hey, if you need help, go see this video. But remember, tie it back to that small group as much as possible. The other one is adaptive. And what we're talking about adaptive is where the students answer questions. If they get the question right, it goes harder. If they get it wrong, it tries again or breaks it down for them. Great programs that would work for that would be Prodigy, I love Freckle. Freckle is one of my absolute favorites. Another one could be, I'm thinking through my head of all my websites. I know that some of them are Egg Galaxy. That is a good one. You could be doing any program that is going to give them questions. Take a look at some of this. IXL, believe it or not, if you're going to use IXL, that's actually independent practice. It's not digital content because they're just practicing that skill over and over and over again. That's independent practice. So sometimes, even though it's on technology, does not necessarily fit this learn, relearn, or its adaptive programs. So just to let you know, that's what we're really looking for. So digital content, learn, relearn, and it's adaptive, all tying back to that small group instruction. All right, let's go to our next one. The next studio that we are going to be talking about is Future Ready. I get questions all the time. Marsha, what do you mean? What's Future Ready? I'll help you out. So this is what we call FR. And as you will see in all of the different information, I always put FR for Future Ready. SG for small group, IP for independent practice, DC for digital content, FR for Future Ready. So what is Future Ready? It's a place that kids can show their learning, create. They can create something to demonstrate their knowledge. They can collaborate. And I'm going to run out of room, so I'm going to abbreviate. So they're going to collaborate. They're going to communicate. So they're going to give the time for them to communicate with other students. And then the last one, they're going to connect. Hey, I made it. They're going to connect it. So create, collaborate, communicate, connect. Oh, and I forgot critical thinking. It's really, you guys, the 4 C's. All right? The 4 C's where the students are going to be using the information to build, create, collaborate. Let's give you some examples. And I'm going to do, again, 2 different viewpoints. All right? You can use technology for Future Ready. So we're going to say tech ideas and no tech. So ideas for technology would be Flipgrid. What could be, they're going to create a Google slide where they're showcasing their understanding of the concepts that are going along with your lesson. They could be doing Canva. They can create kind of like a little poster. Another one that we really use a lot would be any like timeline activities, boom cards. All of these things could be considered future ready because the kids are creating, they're collaborating, they're communicating, they're connecting that information to themselves, and they're using some critical thinking skills. No tech. I love sorts. Anything that the kids had to actually physically sort, move things from one place to another, match them. Another one I like to do are any board games. Games such as Connect 4, Jenga, where the kids pull out questions and together they or pull out a Jenga piece and together they had to answer that question that's on the Jenga piece as a team. Then they get to build. So any type of a game, any type of a sort, anything like a play, a skit, where the kids can actually physically show their understanding, or a song. These things are all no-tech ideas that the kids can still showcase their information. So I can use technology in Future Ready. You just have to watch that balance. And if you've seen anything out there recently, I always say find the balance between no tech and too much tech. These are our small group studios. So these are our studios that we actually deploy in that blended learning process. Another one that we tend to also add in would be a vocab studio. And that is if you want to do what's called a ghost group. Or some of our math teachers really like, instead of doing a vocab, they might do a review studio. And the review studio is just an extra place where that's a spiral review. So they might add in that one extra piece. I started out today talking about what is a studio with visual, tactile, auditory, and kinesthetic learning options. Well, if I go through and look at my different studios, in small group, this is audio and visual learning opportunities. Independent practice is tactile. Digital content, audio, and visual. and a kinesthetic would be future ready. So as I'm creating this blended learning process, I'm actually going through and creating an environment where students can be learning that content in 4 different learning modalities. Studios, my golden ticket to get to that student collaboration, creativity, critical thinking stages. Also, a great way to bridge that gap, like knowledge gap, finding out what students need by getting data from all of these different resources. If you want to learn more about any of this, please go to Kish Marsha on YouTube. Follow me at DSDPD, or you can go to our website. Let me know if you need any help. Reach out to me. I'd be more than willing to help you. Good luck, guys. You got this.